Hello, everybody. Tracy Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president at JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures podcast, sponsored by the JDog Foundation. Our podcast gives veterans, mil spouses, active military members, military family members, and patriotic military supporters a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're affecting their communities post-service, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has helped them in their journey in the military career, business, or life. Today, I am so excited to have a very special edition of Tactical Treasures with our return guest, Waco Hoover, who served in the U.S. Marine Corps from 1997 to 2001 as an infantry, marine, combat water survival instructor, and infantry scout. He served several deployments across Southeast Asia. After separation from the military, Hoover graduated from New York University cum laude and completed Harvard Business School executive education programs. He then became an entrepreneur and investor who now has over 18 years of experience in venture capital, M&A, entertainment, media, and live events. Currently, he is the founder and CEO of Impact Group, an advisory firm that optimizes organizations for growth, utilizing data, peer benchmarking, and outcome-driven strategies. He also serves as chair for the American Legion's Be the One platform, focused on brain health and preventing veteran suicide. Waco, so good to see you again. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for your service to our country.
My pleasure. It's great to be here, Tracy.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear about your new venture. What had inspired you, I guess, to found Impact Group?
Yeah. So, you know, we've known each other for a while now, and you know that I'm involved in a lot of things that are, commercially driven, but also there's a lot of things that are driven with deep meaning and purpose. Whether it's suicide prevention for our veterans and service members, and whether it's brain health, whether it's serving military families. There are so many different ways that we get purpose out of what we do, and
Sure.
the two don't need to be mutually exclusive. And so, a big reason why we started Impact Group is because we want to take a very data driven way to support businesses, small, medium sized growth businesses and at scale. And we want to give them an opportunity to leverage and harness the power of their data across all their different business units and functions. But then we want to step back and take a holistic approach to how we approach purpose-driven strategies, whether that's social impact programs, whether that's programs for their own employees, whether that's programs for the communities that they operate and serve in, where their offices are or where their factories are, whatever that might be. And the whole point is that purpose is relative. You can't force it. It's not this thing that should be a check the box because it sounds good on an earnings call, or because you're just trying to paint put what is it? What's the saying? Put put lipstick on a pig, so to speak.
Right.
You need to have buy-in from the owners of a business, from the shareholders of a business, from the customers, like I said, the communities that you serve. And that's the whole reason why we launched this business. And as you probably saw, a big emphasis, a big place we focused on was on the government contracting sector, defense, aerospace, and otherwise. And if you think about it, the federal government, my taxpayer dollars, your taxpayer dollars, that's what funds all of these large enterprises. And so, doesn't it make sense that we should be smarter about how we support our communities, leveraging data driven outcomes to do just that, so we can make sure that the trillions upon trillions of dollars that get deployed every year to these various organizations that are serving us. And it's not just like sexy things like aircraft and drones. It's infrastructure, it's roads, it's highways, it's like IT, it's janitorial service. The list goes on and on. And so, how do we make sure that these organizations and the owners of those businesses, those stakeholders, are equipped to do as much as they can for the communities they serve in, and do it in a way that's important to them?
Okay. Um, so you talk about, like, I went to your website and it
Mhm.
it pretty massive. But there's a lot of different words that you use, like data driven. So what do you seek to do? Like you get data.
Yep.
So when you look at these companies that come to you, what actually happens with the data? What is your strategy behind?
Yeah.
How do you help them?
Yeah. So it's a really good question. So what we do is we take organizations through a really robust peer benchmarking process at the end of the day. So we have dozens and dozens of data points that we take in from the organization. Then we have our own proprietary data that we have internally that we've been aggregating over years. And then we also have access to other public data sets and also other data sets that we procure. And so what we do then is we look across financial metrics, operational metrics, we look at IT metrics, we look at HR, a whole host of different, again, traditional business drivers. And what we do with those is then we then compare those to the industry standard. So let's say an organization has 500 employees, let's say, excuse me, let's say they're doing, close to 100 million in revenue, and they're in the IT services end market focused on federal government contracting, right? So we work with those organizations to understand, are you spending more than you should be on IT? Are you underspending? Are you spending significantly more on marketing, or are you spending less on marketing given where you want to take the organization? What are you spending from financial services? There's a whole host of business functions here that are really important to understand where you sit in comparison to your peers, because that helps inform where you want to take your organization. Do you want to position your business for an acquisition? Do you want to acquire other businesses? Do you want to just continue to grow top line revenue through a number of other ways? So by being more informed about what your peers are doing, it gives you a competitive edge to understand where you are now today and where you want to go. The other piece of that is the power of having a third party organization do it. It eliminates the subjectivity from stakeholders within the organization. Oftentimes, the chief marketing officer, the chief information officer, they have certain budgets and things that they want to do, and that's great. And we know that those are aligned with the goals of the business. But this is a objective assessment of the business. Nobody has a dog in the fight, so to speak. It's
Right.
here's where you sit, and based on what you've told us your goals and objectives are, here's what the steps that you can take to do that. And you'll probably notice that impact doesn't have an A in it, Tracy, and that is
Right.
very intentional. We've saved that for action because all this data, all the insight you can garner from that isn't really helpful unless you can actually take action with it and execute it. And the thing that's really unique about our team that we built is we have an amazing group of people who not only have deep commercial expertise, analytics expertise, but we've also founded businesses, we've invested in businesses, we've scaled them, we've acquired companies, we've sold them. So in terms of that journey that organizations want to go on, we've been through it. We're not just analyzing information and regurgitating it. We can add context to that, which is one of the most important things that you can get when you're looking at data analysis.
Okay. So after you survey all the data analysis, do you actually put together a plan for the company to follow based on what they're hoping to do, whether it is set themselves up for acquisition or to grow in a particular area?
That's exactly right. So, as a part of the assessment, organizations will get a very detailed breakdown of here are unique insights and findings. Here are questions that the management team should be asking themselves, and then here are potential action steps. Here are things what can you do next? Here are recommendations and guidelines there, and then the organization they can act on that on their own, or they can continue to engage our team and do that as well. Whatever is most appropriate and makes sense for the organization is how we approach it.
Okay. And so how would companies find you? Like what would they be looking at and saying, you know what, we really need to have an outside analysis team look at our company. And how would they go about that? What is the process?
Yeah, so there's a number of scenarios. End of year strategy planning We work with a lot of organizations at the end of their fiscal year cycle. They're thinking about, okay, we're going into our corporate retreat or whatever the scenario that looks like for an organization. And they need to understand, how do we take all the disparate information that we have across the organization? How do we distill that? And how do we understand if we are doing well in comparison to where we've set the goalpost, and where are other competitors that we're competing for contract, where we're competing for customers for. So that's a scenario. If organizations are looking to acquire other businesses, we'll work with them to assess those targets, was another scenario.
Hmm.
Excuse me. So those are all different opportunities that all examples of how they can do that. Also, if organizations are really building out a new 2 to 5 year strategy, and they want to understand where they are and what journey they're going to go on, it's another great opportunity to engage. And organizations, you can find us right at our website, which is impactgroup.com. No way. And then there's we actually have a free assessment tool that anybody can go on and fill out. And our team will give you a light version of the assessment. And what the beauty of that is, you get a little taste of what it is. We'll give you a bit of insight. And if you want to engage more, that's great. If not, we totally appreciate that. Take what you've learned and do something unique with it, that can serve your organization's goals and
Hello,
objectives.
viewers and listeners. Are you a military veteran or military family member and looking to own your own business? If so, go to jdog.com and check out our two veteran-focused franchises, JDog Junk Removal and Hauling and JDog Carpet Cleaning and Floor Care. Our franchisees nationwide are always looking to hire fellow veterans and patriots. JDog is the world's largest military franchise system with hundreds of locations nationwide. We are nearly 90% veteran owned, with the goal of reducing the veteran unemployment rate to under 1%. Check us out. Go to jdog.com to learn more. Now, back to the podcast. Um, so I understand, obviously, you have that free assessment tool, but if companies want to go further with you, I imagine there's a cost involved. And how does that, do you have different, types of plan pricing, or is it kind of one price for XYZ?
Yeah, so a lot of our engagements are custom in many respects, and so we will price those out accordingly.
Okay.
We typically don't take a one size fits all approach, as you can imagine. Also, there are organizations with varying degrees of resources for what they need, and so we want to work with organizations. And by the way, work with organizations that are for profit, work with nonprofit organizations, municipalities, to understand where they are. We're just having a conversation earlier this week with one of the counties down in Arizona. And again, for them, they're talking about the difference of, well, okay, great. Like our board, is asking us about, well, why aren't we growing as quickly as the next county? We have similar number of citizens that are paying taxes. Well, it just so happens that the other county, they collect 3 times as much tax revenue because their taxes are higher. And so it's nuance like that, that being
Right.
able to, if you're taking heat from your board, or you need to articulate and explain why something is the way it is, or why we're not getting traction, or why you may need more resources to accomplish what the collective entity wants to do, that nuance really, really matters. But oftentimes, if you're just looking at high level data points, you have no context around that, and you're kind of struggling and figuring out which direction to go. And so those exercises are really, really important to go through.
Right. Right. Okay. Wow. Wealth of information. So companies can just find you on the website, and there's an application process, I imagine, that they need to
Yeah,
fill
there's
out.
that's exactly right. They can submit their information right on the website, or we'll set up discovery calls with them. We also speak at a lot of industry events. We were just last week, 2 weeks ago, in New Orleans at the National 8A conference, speaking there. We're going to be at South by Southwest next week for a lot of the, excuse me, for a lot of the defense and government contracting and tech, activities that are taking place there. And then we're going to be up in Boston in April for the Harvard Business School and MIT. They have a national security and technology conference they do, and so we're one of the partners of that a number of our partners and co-founders at the business are HBS alums. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun, and it's really rewarding to get to help organizations and their teams uh, improve decision making, operational efficiency, and help them go in a direction that's going to help them accomplish their goals.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's really great. So is there anybody else kind of in this space, or are
Sure.
you kind of pioneering this space?
It's a really good question because over the years, when you're like, put my investor hat on, if you're looking to do an investment, some people say we have no competition. Well, that doesn't necessarily. It's not. That's generally speaking, that's not a great thing.
Right.
You want to have
Yeah.
some unless your idea is so bold and pioneering, then maybe in that instance that's the case. But no, there are definitely other organizations that do peer benchmarking and lean into that. I'll say some big differentiators for us that are unique is the once you've done the assessments, once you have the context there, we do a really phenomenal job of adding in that strategy and those recommendations after the fact. I'd say most organizations don't have a lot of that capability because they haven't lived it. They don't have the experience to do so. So again, data analysis for data analysis sake doesn't make it actionable, doesn't make it something that you can put into put a plan in place. And then I'll say the other thing is we have a whole component where we capture social impact metrics, where we capture sustainability metrics. And as I mentioned earlier, that may be very important to an organization, or it may not be that important to an organization. But I'll give you an example of, again, one of the things we're very proud of and how we take a data driven approach to that. I know you and Jerry at JDog, you guys care deeply about supporting the military community and veterans, right?
Yep.
Um, that is a core part of your business. That's part of the DNA that's there, and that resonates with not just your potential franchisees, but it resonates with customers in a really, really powerful way. And so that purpose, that meaning, that mission that you have is so powerful. And so organizations oftentimes miss the mark on that. And so that is something that we spend a lot of time working with them to figure out what is your North Star? What's bigger than just providing IT services or construction services or healthcare services? How do you identify those values and make sure that that comes full circle so your employees feel it? The same thing that we talk about when you transition out of the military, you miss that mission, team, and purpose.
Right.
So, and one of the things we love about working in the government contracting, defense, aerospace community is the density of veterans and their families that work in that community too is so high. So that resonates with people in a really meaningful way. And so one of the most rewarding parts of this, and also I think value that we add, is supporting organizations so they can figure out what are the nonprofits they want to support. We both, and you guys in particular, support Grunt Style Foundation, Reverend Warriors tremendously,
Hmm.
financially, with your time, with your teams. There's so many ways to go about doing that. And so that's one of the big things that we love doing about our business with our business is quantitatively and qualitatively showing organizations how you can be more profitable and how you can make more money if you actually lean into those types of initiatives that matter to you as business owners, that matter to your stakeholders, your customers, and other constituents that are important to your business.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Because, a business is a business, but there's got to be more to it. There can be a mission behind just the business, a social mission even. And
Right.
yeah,
And Tracy, I
that's
think
really great.
thank you. And it's interesting, and I'd be remiss if we didn't. You know this too, but there's definitely been a big pushback with things that are kind of fall into the social impact philanthropy bucket. What things that terms like DEI or ESG, and as you saw, like we don't use any of those terms on our website. Now that's not to say that a lot of those things aren't very, very important to do, because they are, but they need to be important to the right organizations for the right reason. Doing things just for just doing it for the sake of doing it because you think you should, or as I mentioned, it sounds good on earnings call, or you're trying to sound like make yourself more attractive to an investor or acquirer. That's the wrong way to go about doing it. You need to
Right.
align those things with your business, with the end markets that you serve, so that if you're operating in the Southeast, culturally, your values align with who you're trying to work with. If you're operating in the Pacific Northwest, that's another example. The culture of healthcare versus construction can vary dramatically, just like there's
Right.
nuance across the military. And so, doing that with intentionality and doing that in a way that you can quantify and then also measure the outcomes of it are really, really important. And that's something that we pride ourselves on.
Right. That's great. That's awesome. Okay, so this has been an awesome conversation, but we are tactical treasures, and I'm
Yes.
sure you probably shared a tactical treasure before, and it could
Yes.
be the same one, Waco, or it could be something completely different. I would love to hear what you're going to share with us.
So Tracy, I remember it last time, the first time I was on the show, because I thought I thought long and hard about it, and I remember talking with my wife Danielle about it, who and it was forgiveness. And I talked about my
Mhm.
father and journey and his time in Vietnam and all that. And so what's new now in life is I am now a father since the last time that we talked,
Yes.
and so being on the other side of that is really, really special to see, because for the long until you are a father, you
Mhm.
are a child of someone or a grandchild. And so I think now, having had an opportunity to reflect on it, and we're a year and a half in, so clearly experts over here, as you know. uh,
Oh,
yes.
you're never an expert, I
Yeah,
don't think.
that is the secret. Yes, you're never an expert, correct. um, and so I think for me, the tactical treasure is parenthood is this incredible opportunity to be thoughtful about all the amazing things that your parents instilled in you, but then at the same time, how uh, how do you take the mistakes that they made, because we all make mistakes, and how do you do less of that, so
Right.
that when you're raising those children, they want to come back and spend time with you. I think I read something that if the best sign, if you have done a good job parenting your children, they want to vacation with you. They want to go on trips with you. They want to come back and spend holidays with you. You are always invited to the party as a parent, or you are the party and they want to come back to you. I think that's just such a rewarding thing. And I don't know if you're familiar with there's a New York Times bestselling author, a guy named Ryan Holiday, and he has this amazing book and newsletter called The Daily Dad. And the perspective on that is so incredible, because it's so easy to get sucked into, oh my God, I'm exhausted, I have to get up with the kid again. Oh my God, I've got to do this. The grind of parenting is a very real thing. But Ryan talks about reframing that. Jocko also does that too. He talks in a very similar way, but in a very Jocko way. And he talks about the whole notion of looking at those things as an opportunity. You know what? You're up with your kid for 2 hours. Well, that's 2 hours you get to spend with your child that you otherwise didn't. And they're snuggled on you and they're cuddled on you. You know what? Your kid's sick. It's going to throw your day into a tailspin. But you know what? You get to pick your kid up from school. You get to spend time with them. There are all these little moments across life where, yeah, maybe it was inconvenient, maybe it was a pain in the butt, but it's time that you'll never get back. And fast forward to when you're 80 years old, in that moment when your child is being difficult or a tantrum or whatever it is, what would you give to be back in that moment and to be able to spend that time with them again? And to me, I think that's my new tactical treasure. My second tactical treasure that I will share with you is just reframing how we think about parenting and embracing that journey, because yeah, it's going to suck. 100% it's going to suck, but so do certain aspects of the military. That's just the nature of it. But
Right.
that's the amazing thing about really hard, rewarding things, is they're really difficult sometimes. And so embracing the suck, just like we did in the Marine Corps, of parenting is, I think, an incredible framework. It's not always easy. You don't always do it, but working towards that and making that the norm, I think, is really special.
Yeah. Yeah, I can speak from our daughters are grown now. They're adults.
Right.
And
Good job. Congratulations.
yeah, they're I know they're great girls. Um, they both actually work for JDog now.
Right.
Who would
Great.
have thought that?
Yeah.
But
Family business.
we look back and yeah, there's and we were blending a family too. So that was
That's right.
even more difficult. And
Right.
but when I look back, I wouldn't have traded any of that for anything.
Right.
I mean, it was this amazing experience, and what a responsibility as a parent to shape the life of another
Yeah.
human being.
Right.
It's it's like at the same, as
Yeah.
being wonderful and an incredible opportunity, like you said, to not repeat the mistakes
Yeah.
of your parents or do something different. Um, but yeah, it's very special. And we look at them now, and it's just amazing. I can't, it's like, where did the time go? And
Yes. Right.
enjoy these times,
While there's still
because
little
they
nuggets.
go, I
Yeah.
got to tell you, they go quickly, really
Right.
quickly.
What is it? The days are long, but the years are fast. I think
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, so this has been so amazing connecting with you again, Waco. And I'm so happy to hear about your new company. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Um, I do have to ask though, any new perspective for fellow veterans that are navigating the business world?
Yes. I think that one of the things that wasn't necessarily available to me when I was an entrepreneur getting out, when I got out of the Marine Corps in the early 2000s, there weren't near the same level of resources that exist now and today for entrepreneurs or somebody who's just transitioning out or
Hmm.
they went to school or business school or whatever. The importance of having mentors and a strong network cannot emphasize that enough. The There are so many resources that are available to you. There's no reason ever to go it alone. Tapping into your own network, whether that's family members who may have a connection or know somebody. I can't tell you how many times I've been absolutely blown away about a very like narrow specific venture that I was focusing on, and you just have a conversation, ask somebody, they're like, oh yeah, I know somebody that runs this huge business, they're wildly successful in that particular area, and it opens up a whole new resource,
Hmm.
understanding, and opportunity that you otherwise were trying to Google or now chat GPT or AI your way into. And so the importance of mentorship and communities is important, and then also leaning into so many of the resources that are out there, whether it's Hire Heroes USA, whether it's groups like Warrior Rising, or some of those groups that actually have very specific programs that they'll
Hmm.
send veterans and military spouses through. I think those are some of the most rewarding opportunities that you can get, because it's not just what you're going to learn, but it's the cohort of human beings that you're going through it with. Just like when you go into boot camp or pick any school, like after that you go in and you have a community, or you get to your unit in the Fleet Marine Force. Those people become your family, and they become part of your tribe on this journey, because they all can appreciate the pain and suffering that you're going to go through as an entrepreneur, as you and
Yeah.
Jerry know all too well.
Yeah.
It sounds all great, but there's lots. It's incredibly rewarding, the most rewarding thing, but it's very, very painful, and you've got to be
Yeah.
prepared for that. But that's also why veterans and their families are so well equipped to be incredible entrepreneurs, is because they're not afraid of that.
Yeah. True. True. Yeah. I'll tell you, yeah, entrepreneurship, it isn't for the faint of heart, but it could be amazing to be able
Yes.
to be a business owner and control your own destiny.
Right.
So,
And the other thing I'll just add to that that I think is really important for people to understand, and it often gets skipped over, is starting with the end in mind. If you're starting a new venture, what are the potential outcome scenarios here? Well, you could build a wildly successful business, and somebody would want to buy it, so you could have and you could sell your business. Somebody could acquire you at some point, which is incredibly rewarding financially in terms of you build something, validating that's amazing. You could build it into something, and you start acquiring other businesses. You could become a venture-backed company, and that presents a whole host of different scenarios, pros, cons. You could fail. The business may not work. You could build a business, and it is a great lifestyle business. It kicks off amazing cash flow, and you're able to do incredible things you want for your employees, for the customers, for the communities that you serve that are important to you. You can give back a lot. So being thoughtful about the type of business you want to build is something that I think is really important, because oftentimes people just run into this process of entrepreneurship without understanding any of these possible scenarios. And if you could go back in time, there's a lot of things that people would do differently. Very successful people, including myself, would do differently if you would have known more about some of those, scenarios, different ways to position your business model to have a bigger valuation. Whether it's, if you've got recurring revenue, you shift from a EBITDA multiple to a multiple of revenue, as you know. So there's a
Right.
lot of nuance like that I think, if you start with the end in mind, can be very, very helpful along the way. And it allows you to have great moments of self-reflection, to take yourself to a place that's ultimately going to make you happy, and also have a great business. And you don't find yourself, you're just grinding, and you end up just being the business ultimately is your master, and you're just completely burnt out at some point.
Right.
You see a lot of entrepreneurs that may be very successful, but they get to that point and they end up not being happy anymore.
Right. Right. Great advice. Great advice. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Um, okay. Waco, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming on. And
My pleasure.
but before you go, where can people find and connect with you, and where can they find out more information on Impact Group?
Yeah, so I'm right on LinkedIn. If you look me up there, easy to find. If you go to our website, which is impctgroup.com, you can find us there. You can get in touch with us there. Contact form, submission form, contact details, it's all there. Would love to hear from anybody. But Tracy, this has been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, Waco. Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Tactical Treasures Podcast. We just finished up a very insightful and interesting conversation with Waco Hoover, who is a return guest and also served in the U.S. Marine Corps from 1997 to 2001. He is now the founder and CEO of Impact Group. Impact Group leverages aggregated data and proprietary insights to navigate challenges, optimize operations, and align success with community betterment. By bridging performance with purpose, they deliver tailored strategies that drive innovation, accountability, and lasting success. Impact Group envisions a future where the organizations shaping our infrastructure, safeguarding our nation, and fostering innovation are recognized for their business achievements and their enduring contribution towards accountability and community engagement. Impact Group will lead this transformation, providing the tools, benchmarks, and strategies that redefine excellence in public sector leadership. To learn more, go to impactgroup.com, and impact is spelled IMPCT group.com. Again, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget, you can find Tactical Treasures podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, as well as Vet TV, American Grit, and our dedicated YouTube channel. We are now airing on Reese Across America Radio on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you missed that, please join us on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern for the encore. You can also find Reese Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. We are also proud to share that our JDog Foundation is a Wreaths Across America sponsorship group. For each $17 Veterans Wreath that you sponsor, $5 goes directly back to the JDog Foundation, whose mission is to prevent veteran suicide and heal veterans' mental health and PTSD. You can donate right now at wreathsacrossamerica.org/JDog. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again on another podcast real soon. Bye bye now.